Switzerland doesn't want your money. It wants all of it. And most tourists don't realize until it's too late. You've seen the photos, the Alps, the lakes, the clean trains that actually run on time. You think you've budgeted. You think you're prepared. But Switzerland operates on a different economic reality. And if you don't understand the system before you arrive, you'll be bleeding cash by day 2. This isn't about being careless. It's not about overspending on souvenirs or splurging on fancy hotels. This is about a country that has structurally designed itself to extract maximum value from every transaction. And unless you understand how deep this goes, you're walking into a financial trap disguised as a postcard. But wait, before we begin, please subscribe to ensure that you never miss out on any of my essential stuff. Comment, "I subscribe" below, and I will personally welcome you to our community. With that said, let's get started. Let's start small. A coffee. You walk into a cafe in Zurich. Nothing fancy, just a regular place near the train station. You order a cappuccino. The barista smiles. You tap your card. 8 francs. That's $9. For one coffee. Not a specialty roast. Not a tourist trap with a view. Just coffee. You brush it off. It's Switzerland. Everything's expensive. You knew that coming in. But then you grab lunch. A sandwich from a bakery. 15 francs. That's $17 for bread, cheese, and ham. No sides. No drink. Just a sandwich. You walk past a grocery store. Curious, you go in. A liter of milk? 2 francs 50. Not terrible. But then you see the rest. A small block of cheese? 12 francs. A bag of apples? 7. A frozen pizza that would cost you $4 at home? 11 francs here. Now multiply that across every single transaction. A beer? 12 francs. A basic salad at lunch? 22 francs minimum. A sit-down dinner at a mid-range restaurant? 60 to 80 francs per person, and that's without wine. Here's what tourists don't grasp. Switzerland doesn't have cheap options. There's no budget tier. No hole-in-the-wall joints where locals eat for half the price. No ethnic restaurants offering massive portions for $8. Everyone pays the same. And that price is designed for Swiss salaries, not tourist budgets. A teacher in Zurich makes around 90,000 francs a year. That 8-franc coffee is pocket change. But if you're earning $50,000 back home, that same coffee just took a much bigger bite. It's not just expensive. It's proportionally devastating. And here's the psychological trick. You keep paying because you're already there. You've already spent $1,000 on flights. You've booked your hotels. You're not going to starve yourself to save 20 francs. So you pay, and pay, and pay. So why does everything cost this much? Is it greed? Inflation? Or is Switzerland operating on rules you don't see? Here's the truth. Switzerland protects its own. Fiercely. The average salary is one of the highest in the world. But that's not charity. It's structure. Swiss law makes it nearly impossible to pay workers below a certain standard. Employers can't just import cheaper labor and undercut locals. Immigration is controlled. Permits are strict. And businesses have to pay market rate, or they don't get staff. So what happens? The barista making your coffee earns 4,000 francs a month. The cashier at the grocery store? Same. The person cleaning hotel rooms? 3,800 minimum. That cost gets passed directly to you. But here's the part that shocks people. Switzerland is fine with this. The system is designed to keep prices high because high prices support high wages. It's a closed loop, and tourists are just passing through. So they're not part of the equation. Let me give you a concrete example. In 2014, Switzerland held a referendum on whether to introduce a minimum wage of 22 francs per hour. That's about $25. The highest proposed minimum wage in the world. It failed. Not because the Swiss are against worker protections, but because most sectors already pay above that. Collective bargaining agreements set wages by industry. Hotels, restaurants, retail, they all have negotiated minimums that are legally binding. So when you're paying 12 francs for a beer, roughly 4 of those francs are going directly to the person serving you. Another 3 are going to rent because commercial real estate in Swiss cities is astronomically expensive. Another 2 cover utilities, licensing, insurance. The actual beer? maybe costs 1 franc. The business owner isn't getting rich. They're surviving in an economy where every input cost is inflated. Now, compare that to a neighboring country. France, just across the border. A beer there costs €5, maybe 6. Why? Because the French minimum wage is around €11 an hour. Rent is cheaper. Regulations are different. The entire cost structure is lower. A family from Germany crosses the border every weekend to buy groceries in France because it's 30% cheaper. Swiss locals do the same. They know the system. They work around it. They live in border towns and commute into Switzerland for work, earning Swiss wages but paying foreign prices. You don't have that option. You're trapped inside the Swiss pricing bubble for the entire duration of your trip. But let's say you're smart. You've done the research. You book a hostel, skip the restaurants, buy groceries. Will that save you? Not really, because Switzerland charges you for things you didn't even know were costs. Public toilets? 1 to 2 francs. Not all of them, but enough that you'll get caught off guard. You're walking through Zurich's old town, you need a bathroom, and suddenly you're fumbling for coins at a turnstile. Train ticket to the next town? 30 francs for 20 minutes. A day pass to visit a mountain? 100 francs, easy. That includes the cable car, because you're not hiking up a 3,000-meter peak in sneakers. And if you want to go to multiple mountains, each one is a separate ticket. Jungfraujoch, one of the most popular peaks? 240 francs round trip. That's $270 to ride a train up a mountain. And then there's the stuff no guidebook warns you about. Water at a restaurant isn't free. They charge you for tap water. 4 to 6 francs for a glass. Sparkling or still, doesn't matter. You're paying. Want to sit outside at a cafe? Some places charge extra for a terrace seat. Not a joke. It's printed on the menu. Terrace supplement, 2 francs. Switzerland has monetized everything. There's no cultural expectation of freebies. No complimentary bread. No free refills. Every single thing is itemized, priced, and non-negotiable. Here's a real example. A British couple visited Lucerne for 4 days. Budget travelers. Stayed in an Airbnb. Cooked most meals. Took trains instead of taxis. Bought groceries. Skipped the expensive mountain excursions and just walked around the lake. Final cost, 1,800 francs. That's over $2,000. And they barely did anything. They posted their breakdown online. Accommodation, 600 francs. Groceries, 280 francs. 2 dinners out, 180 francs. Train pass, 320 francs. Museums and small activities, 200 francs. Miscellaneous, including those public toilets and coffees and waters, 220 francs. They thought they were being conservative. And they still spent more than most people spend on a week in Southeast Asia. But it gets worse, because there are hidden costs that don't even show up on your credit card statement. Switzerland runs on efficiency. Everything is optimized, but that optimization costs you time if you don't know the system. Miss your train? The next one might not be for an hour, even on major routes. And you can't just hop on without a ticket. Fare inspections are constant. No ticket? Instant fine. 90 francs on the spot. Parking in cities? Forget it. If you rent a car, you'll spend half your day looking for parking and the other half feeding meters. Central Zurich charges 5 francs per hour, and the meters don't take cards. Coins only. Run out of coins? There's a fine for that too. Even something as simple as laundry becomes a production. Most Swiss apartments have communal laundry rooms that operate on reservation systems. You book a time slot. Miss it? You wait another week. Hotels charge 15 to 20 francs to wash a single load. So if it's this expensive, why do people keep coming? Why does Switzerland stay full of tourists year-round? Where are they seeing that you're not? Because Switzerland sells something most countries can't. The illusion of perfection. Everything works. The trains are on time to the minute. Not approximately. Not within 5 minutes. Exactly on time. If the board says 10:47, the train leaves at 10:47. You can set your watch by it. The streets are clean, not just in the tourist areas. Everywhere. No litter. No graffiti-covered buildings. No potholes. The infrastructure is flawless. Crime is almost non-existent. You feel safe at 2 a.m. walking anywhere. Women travel alone without fear. You can leave your bag on a cafe table and go to the bathroom. It'll still be there when you get back. There's no visible poverty, no homeless encampments, no beggars on every corner. The social safety net is so robust that even the unemployed have housing and health care. It's a country that looks like it has everything figured out. And people are willing to pay for that experience, even if it's just for a week, even if it drains their savings. But here's what tourists miss. That perfection has a price. And it's not just the stuff you buy. It's baked into the society. Switzerland funds its infrastructure through taxes most foreigners never see. VAT is 8.1%. Okay, not terrible. But residents pay wealth taxes, church taxes, municipal taxes. If you own property, you're taxed on its value every year. If you have savings above a certain threshold, taxed. Everything is accounted for. Everything is maintained. And nothing is left to chance. The Swiss government doesn't run deficits. It's actually illegal under their constitution, except in emergencies. They save money in good years and spend it in bad ones. This isn't economic theory. It's law. That's why the roads are perfect. That's why the public fountains have drinkable water. That's why every train station has clean bathrooms and real-time updates on every screen. The Swiss pay for Switzerland. You're just visiting the result. And there's something else. Something deeper. Swiss culture is built on a concept called Ordnung. Order. Everything has a place. Everything has a rule. And everyone follows it. You don't jaywalk in Switzerland. Not because you'll get a ticket, though you might. But because it's simply not done. You don't make noise after 10 p.m. You don't mow your lawn on Sundays. You don't put your trash out on the wrong day. This creates a society that functions like a machine. Predictable. Reliable. Safe. But it also creates distance. The Swiss are polite, but not warm. They're helpful, but not friendly. Tourists interpret this as coldness. It's not. It's just a different social contract. But let's go deeper. What happens if you actually try to live here? Not just visit. Can you afford it then? Short answer. Only if you're rich or working a Swiss job. Rent in Zurich for a one-bedroom apartment? 2,000 to 2,500 francs a month. And that's not luxury. That's average. 40 square meters. One room plus a small kitchen and bathroom. No dishwasher. No air conditioning. Probably no elevator if you're on the third floor. Geneva? Even worse. 2,500 to 3,000 francs for the same thing. And landlords are picky. They want proof of income. 3 months rent as deposit. Sometimes they want a Swiss guarantor. If you're foreign, good luck. Health insurance is mandatory. Starts around 300 to 400 francs a month. Per person. If you have a family, multiply that. And that's just the premium. There's a deductible too. You pay the first 2,500 francs of medical costs out of pocket every year before insurance kicks in. Groceries for one person? Roughly 600 to 800 francs a month if you're careful. And careful means shopping at Aldi or Lidl, the discount chains. Cooking every meal. No organic. No premium brands. Going out to eat once a week? Add another 300 to 400 francs a month. Transportation pass? 80 francs a month if you're in the city. Phone plan? 50 francs minimum for decent data. So let's do the math. Just to exist. Rent, 2,200 francs health insurance. 350 francs groceries. 700 francs eating out. Once a week, 350 francs transportation. 80 francs phone. 50 francs utilities, electric, internet, 150 francs. That's 3,880 francs. And that's before entertainment, before travel, before clothing, before emergencies, before saving a single franc. You need to be earning at least 6,000 francs a month post-tax just to live a basic life without constant stress. Now here's the kicker. Most foreigners moving to Switzerland don't earn that right away. They take entry-level jobs. Internships, contracts that pay 4,000 or 5,000, and they burn through savings trying to make it work. I'll give you a real case. An American woman moved to Basel for a marketing job. The company offered her 5,200 francs a month. She thought that sounded great. Over $5,500 a month? That's solid. She found an apartment for 1,400 francs. A steal, she thought. It was a studio on the outskirts. 20-minute train ride to work. After rent, insurance, and basic expenses, she had about 1,500 francs left each month. That sounds okay until you realize that's for everything else. Furniture, kitchen supplies, clothes, socializing, emergencies. Within 3 months, she'd spent 4,000 francs just setting up her apartment. Bed, desk, pots, pans, sheets, towels. All those little things you don't think about. By month 6, she was living paycheck to paycheck. She couldn't visit friends in other cities. Couldn't take weekend trips. Could barely afford drinks after work. She left after 14 months. Moved to Berlin. Same industry, slightly lower salary. But her quality of life tripled immediately. The ones who stay, either they marry a Swiss national and share costs, or they land high-paying roles in finance, pharma, or tech. Engineers at Google Zurich start around 120,000 francs. Bankers at UBS? 150,000 and up. Pharmaceutical researchers in Basel? Similar range. At that level, Switzerland makes sense. You're earning enough to enjoy the country. Save money. Travel. Actually live. Everyone else cycles out within 2 years. So here's the question. If it's this hard to live there, how do normal Swiss people afford it? What's the secret? They don't live like you think they do. First, most Swiss people don't live in Zurich or Geneva. They live in smaller towns. Places like Winterthur, Baden, Lucerne. 20 minutes by train to the city, but rent is 30% cheaper. Second, they share. Swiss households have an average of 2.2 people. Couples split costs. Families pool income. Multi-generational living is more common than you'd think. Grandparents help with childcare. Adult children live at home longer. Third, they don't eat out. At least not the way tourists do. A typical Swiss family eats at a restaurant maybe twice a month. The rest is home-cooked. Meal planning. Bulk buying. Freezing leftovers. Fourth, they use every discount available. Coop and Migros, the 2 main supermarket chains, have loyalty programs. The Swiss track them religiously. They know which day bread goes on sale, which week meat is discounted. They shop strategically. Fifth, they cross borders. If you live near France, Germany, or Italy, you drive across for gas, groceries, and clothing. Gas in Switzerland? 1.90 francs per liter. In Germany? 1.60. Doesn't sound like much, but over a year that's hundreds saved. Sixth, and this is the big one, they inherit. Switzerland has one of the highest rates of inherited wealth in Europe. Property, savings, investments. Most middle-class Swiss families have some generational wealth cushioning them. A young Swiss couple buying their first apartment? They're not doing it alone. Parents help with the down payment. Sometimes grandparents too. It's expected. Because here's the thing, you can't buy property in Switzerland without at least 20% down. For a modest 2-bedroom apartment in Zurich, that's 200,000 francs. Most people in their 20s don't have that saved, but their family does. This creates a system where being Swiss is, itself, an economic advantage. You're born into networks, support systems, and financial cushions that outsiders simply don't have access to. But what about the people who don't have family wealth? The working-class Swiss? How do they survive in the world's most expensive country? They exist, but you never see them as a tourist. Switzerland has a working class. People who clean offices, drive buses, work in warehouses. They're not starving, but they're not comfortable either. Here's what that looks like. A bus driver in Bern makes about 4,500 francs a month. After taxes, maybe 3,800. Rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in a cheaper neighborhood? 1,600 francs. That leaves 2,200 for everything else. Health insurance for a family of 3? 900 francs minimum. Food? 1,000 francs if they're careful. That leaves 300 francs a month for clothing, entertainment, emergencies, savings. It's tight, really tight. And these families live completely differently than the Switzerland you see in brochures. They don't ski. Lift tickets cost 70 to 90 francs a day. Equipment rental? Another 50. For a family of 4, a single day on the slopes costs 500 francs. That's a week's discretionary budget. They don't eat fondue at mountain restaurants. They don't take the scenic trains. They don't vacation within Switzerland. Instead, they drive to Croatia, Poland, Bulgaria, places where their francs stretch. A week in Croatia costs what 2 days in the Swiss Alps would. And there's another layer you don't see: the immigrant workers. People from Portugal, Spain, the Balkans. They come to Switzerland for a few years, work brutal hours, live in shared apartments with 4 or 5 roommates, and send money home. A Portuguese construction worker makes 5,000 francs a month, shares a 3-bedroom apartment with 5 other guys. Rent split 6 ways? 400 francs each. Eats pasta and rice. Doesn't go out. Saves 3,000 francs a month. After 3 years, he goes home with 100,000 francs saved. In Portugal, that buys a house. In Switzerland, it barely covers a year of living expenses. This is the hidden engine of the Swiss economy. The people who make it run, but never benefit from it. So here's the real question: is Switzerland actually worth it? Or are we all just paying for a fantasy? Because maybe that's the point. Maybe Switzerland isn't trying to be affordable. Maybe it's trying to be exclusive. Think about it. Every Swiss policy, every price point, every regulation is designed to maintain a specific standard of living for people already inside the system, and to make it difficult for outsiders to enter. You can't just move to Switzerland because you want to. You need a job offer. And not just any job. A job that a Swiss or EU citizen couldn't do. The employer has to prove you're uniquely qualified. You can't buy property easily as a foreigner unless you're a resident. Even then, there are restrictions. Certain cantons limit how much property non-Swiss can own. You can't stay long-term without serious money or serious skills. Tourist visa? 3 months max. After that, you need a permit. And permits are tied to employment. The whole system is designed to filter people. If you can afford Switzerland, you're welcome. If you can't, there's the door. And the Swiss are fine with this. They voted multiple times to limit immigration. They've rejected EU membership repeatedly. They want control over who enters, who stays, and who benefits. This isn't cruelty. It's self-preservation. Switzerland is small. 8 million people. Limited land. Limited resources. They've built something that works for them, and they're not interested in diluting it. So when you visit and get hit with those prices, you're not being scammed. You're being filtered. Switzerland is showing you very clearly whether you belong. Most tourists visit for a week, spend a fortune, take their photos, and leave. That's fine. That's the role Switzerland has assigned them. The ones who stay are the ones who prove they can operate at that level. Financially, professionally, culturally. It's brutal, but it's honest. So what do you think? Is Switzerland a dream worth chasing, or just the world's most expensive filter? Because here's what nobody tells you. Maybe the price isn't the problem. Maybe the problem is expecting a country built for the rich to suddenly accommodate everyone else. So is that fair? Or is that just how the world works?